Hey guys, it looks like GM Ryan Poles kind of just telegraphed what he plans to do with Chicago Bears with their defensive end perceived issue. So it's always good when we get new information. If you guys watch the presser with GM Ryan Poles and Coach Matt Eberflus, kind of some really good information. And if you're new to the channel, this is Sports Talk Bears. I'm your host, Sean. We are pushing towards 10,000 subscribers. We just hit 6. So grateful. And I want to kind of go through this story on Chicago Bears section on sportsillustrated.com. And it's kind of really interesting when this stuff is telegraphed. And GM Ryan Poles, he knows about the perceived hole the team has at defensive end. I mean, we are so solid on the left side with Montez Sweat. The right side, we've got some unproven players, and that's a real thing. I mean, so far, what are our main guys? DeMarcus Walker, rookie Austin Booker, unproven third-year edge Dominique Robinson. I mean, he has got to finally show that he's worth his draft capital. He might not even make it through camp. And then we've got somebody like Jake Martin that has bounced around from team to team, but he still has just a little bit of pop. He showed some acumen when he was with the Texans. And kind of a thing about DeMarcus Walker. I just did a story on him just a little while ago. And the thing is, he busted out for 7 sacks when he was with the Titans. And then with Chicago, he was at like 3.5. And there's all this talk of like, oh man, are we getting the player that we paid for from the Titans, or was it just a 1-year bump? But the thing to think about with DeMarcus Walker, he was underrated, really, really good at right end, especially when he fully took it over the second half of the season. I mean, he was very solid against the run, and he also had career highs with quarterback hurries and quarterback hits. He had 8 quarterback hits in the last 4 games. So I think we're underselling DeMarcus Walker just a little bit. I think there's an element that GM Ryan Poles thinks he might have what he needs already at defensive end, but let's hear straight from him. Yeah, I don't really see it as a defensive end problem. Our mindset's always been, how can we make a position group the best we can possibly make it and as deep as we can possibly make it? And I mean, from the story, it's the old coach them up philosophy. But in this case, I kind of hear him on this because we've got a new defensive coordinator in Eric Washington. He's not going to be calling the plays, make no bones about it. He is there to revamp this defensive line and get all these players playing to the top of their ability. There is not a better defensive coordinator. There's not a better defensive line coach in the whole NFL than Eric Washington. He worked magic with marginal talent when he was in Buffalo. Coach Flus is going to be calling the plays. He is there for that. And he's also assisted by the formal defensive line coach, Travis Smith. And the thing is, we've just got to squeeze this potential out of these young players and stop saying that they're going to be better down the road. And here's more from him. So it's like I said, just really leaning on Travis and Eric to continue to develop these players that we have and see, especially when we get pads on, see how they do. We saw some really encouraging things during OTAs, but we all know this game is played in full pads. So we want to see that process through. I mean, if you look at the lay of the land, the obvious guy to bring in is Yannick Ngakoue. I mean, that's a guy that we let go into free agency. He's posting all over Twitter right now that he's back and that he's healthy. That's a guy that we grabbed last year deep into camp. He didn't really show out. I think part of the problem was originally we asked him to be the man on the right side, and he's never been the guy, the main source of pass rush when he's been on all of these teams. What he has been is a piece. And as not being the focus, as not being double teamed, he has averaged like 8 sacks, 6 sacks, 10 sacks throughout his career. Once Montez Sweat got there, and now that this defensive line is maturing, he might be the guy to be a rotational piece to get us some heavy pass rush. So last year he had 4 sacks, and in week 13, as you remember, he suffered a season-ending broken ankle. He got 10.5 million on a 1-year deal for the 2023 season. So I think that's some of the wisdom of this that GM Ryan Poles, he's kind of waiting for things to play out. And these guys that are still unsigned, a guy like Ogba, he is waiting to get an absolute bargain from them because we're only at about 12 million in cap space, but we can always work some magic signing any player. I mean, we can drop Larry Borum. I believe that's going to save us 3 million in cap space. And also, we've got a player that's back in Jamari Chroma. He was out originally on the NFI list. We thought he was going to be out for a little while yesterday, but he's now back in practice. He's going to practice in full. It was just like a finger issue, so nothing major. Man, he showed so much promise at James Madison. He came here as an undrafted free agent. James Madison was underrated, probably the best defense in college football. And Chroma, he was a big part of that. I'm really excited to see this player in camp and see how he plays out. So let's hear from Poles a little more. So with the physical therapy, our athletic trainer, he's been a part of all that all the way through. And evaluation wise, I think once we got Montez, you saw that sack rate go way up for really everybody. So I think it enhanced everyone. But I really enjoyed our time with him. He's talking about Ngakoue. I thought he did a nice job, brought some leadership. So it was positive. So, I mean, the question, right? It's whether the experience was positive enough to pay him a big chunk of their 12.3 million remaining camp cash. Even if the Bears need to do it, or if they see someone else available at more of a bargain rate, like I said, there is a guy like Ogba that's just kind of begging to get picked up. I would love to see them kick the tires on him. And also, maybe the best use of this money, go out and get Connor Williams. He's still sitting there. He's still sitting in Miami. I don't think they want to pay him. And that's a guy that's in his prime. That's a guy that's one of the best centers in the entire NFL. And man, he's coming off an injury. His agent is tweeting all over that he's healthy and that there's been this miraculous recovery. That's the agent's job. So don't fault him for that. But I would really like to know if he truly is healthy and if the Bears can get him at a bargain, at a shorter contract, and get one of the best centers in the NFL at a bargain rate. That would be absolutely fantastic. That would be worth exhausting that cap space that we have. So we're looking here. We're in training camp, and one more injury. Gerald Everett, he's been placed on the NFI list. I'm not sure what the injury is. They haven't been super clear, but that's another thing to keep in mind. So we're looking at this defensive line. Obviously, we've got Montez Sweat. He is going to ball out. We've got a developing Jervon Dexter that I think with Coach Washington, he's going to be built into our dominant three-tech defensive tackle. Billings holds it down at the nose. We've got some rotational pieces, a little bit of depth, not as much as I would like. Like I said, I would like Chroma to ball out in camp and make this team. We've also got Martin, but I think the main question is if this right end is covered well enough with DeMarcus Walker. I want his play to match his trash talk, which is super funny. It's fun if you see him mic'd up. Check it out. Check out the highlights. It is super funny. But if Walker can hold it down like the veteran that he is, like he's shown that he's able to do during his time in Tennessee, and I'll argue he showed that he could do it last year. Give Austin Booker some time to develop into the dominant force that I think he's going to be. And he showed so much of it when he was in Kansas. We got him for an absolute steal in the 5th round when most sources had him going in the 3rd round. There's just so much promise here. And we also have undrafted free agent Keith Randolph, Jr., I believe. Sorry. He was part of the law firm with Zerhan Newton at the University of Illinois. I'm really excited about his potential. You guys, there is so much to be optimistic about on the defensive line. I'm just here with GM Ryan Poles. He wants to see players in pads, and that is completely cool. That's what I like about how he's been handling our cap, how he's been cautious. He sees a player that he knows that he wants. He goes out and gets them immediately. Besides that, He's done such a good job at building versatile depth across this team, and I trust his judgment. When he's ready to pull the trigger, I'm going to be fully on board. Bear down, you guys. It's so fun hanging out with you. Thank you for getting us to 6,000 subscribers. We are building a fun, positive family here, and it is so much fun. I'll see you in the comments. Bear down, and we'll talk soon. See ya.